I love Paparazzi. Gets way too much hate. It's a banger Lady Gaga song. Look, I know you don't need me to tell you that TMZ bad, and Paparazzi bad, and what had happened to Britney Spears due to the actions of Paparazzi bad. But they bad! But you will be happy to know that based on this Google Trends graph, the TMZ website has been steadily declining in relevance since 2009. But at their peak, they were getting up to 10 million unique visitors every month. That is like the equivalent of the entire population of Portugal in the span of 1 month, all simultaneously clicking to see who was the next celebrity to get a DUI, sex tape, or a racist nip slip. Oh! Okay, Fred, tone it down. Less unhinged, more hinged. Plus, TMZ was responsible for breaking some of the biggest and most defining pop culture moments of the 2000s and early 2010s, things we may not have known about were it not for TMZ. And I think it's worth exploring because this not only has a negative impact on the celebrities involved, but also potentially on you. There are people who think that everyone who does work as paparazzi are morally bankrupt individuals who only care about the latest scoop and don't see others as human beings. Is that true or fair? Well, we're gonna unearth this together, and then we will go all the way down until we reach rock bottom, and then we will continue to dig. As long as the concept of fame and status has existed, people have always had a fascination with the inner workings of the lives of those perceived to be higher in society. And with that, we get some less than stellar folks seeking to exploit others for that fascination. For instance, the case of Agatha Christie, a mystery novelist who already had a much publicized, internationally known disappearance for 11 days, where she was hounded by the press and media afterward. Years later, she tried to go on a normal vacation with her husband in Slovenia in 1967, and one reporter found out about this, booked the adjacent hotel room from hers as an ordinary tourist, climbed from his balcony to their balcony while presenting Agatha Christie with a bouquet of flowers. That is so wrong, but also just goes to show that there is nothing new under the sun. But of course, whenever we think of the worst possible consequence that could be inflicted by the paparazzi, it always comes back to Princess Diana. On August 31, 1997, the car carrying 36-year-old Diana, Princess of Wales, encountered a fatal accident at the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris while actively being pursued by paparazzi and photographers on motorbikes. As if this story couldn't raise your blood pressure any higher, there were reports that because the paparazzi were the first on the scene, 10 minutes before the police could even get there, they were more concerned about getting photos of the passengers who lay in the wreckage clinging to their lives instead of doing anything to help. In a just world, I feel that this kind of behavior could possibly get you thrown in Dante's seventh circle of hell. Well, anyway, because we already have this well-oiled, established industry of reporting on and documenting the lives of the rich and famous, Hollywood started to see how they could use that to their advantage. Thus began a mutually beneficial relationship with Hollywood and the entertainment reporting complex. Shows like Entertainment Tonight and countless magazines would have inputs from the publicists of celebrities, ensuring that the celebrity's image would remain untainted, glamorous but relatable, respectable yet down-to-earth, cool and refined. These outlets would be invited to red carpet events, give softball interviews. It's pretty, it's polished, it's manufactured, all according to plan. And then the internet happened.
Welcome, you've got mail. Click.
With the rise of blogs and, well, for the kids watching this, blogs are like vlogs, but they're like written down with like words. With the rise of blogs, one of the types of blogs that really popped off was showbiz gossip, sharing juicy details about celebrities, substantiated or otherwise. These were sites like Lainey's Entertainment Update, Pink is the New Blog, and the scummiest of them all, Perez Hilton. Ugh, I hate this goddamn guy so much. The appeal of these vlogs was pretty clear. It's a peek away from the manufactured publicity machine of Hollywood, the one weird trick that 99% of publicists don't want you to know about. Celebrities hate him. So this was all in the mid-2000s, and this was the environment that TMZ was primed to enter. And if I may say, if you've ever consumed any kind of TMZ content, or watched a leak video, or followed a story or whatnot, I'm not gonna blame you. TMZ would continue to thrive with or without your view. And we're just always going to have that fascination with drama and gossip. I mean, believe it or not, I'm not really a showbiz person. I don't really care who's dating who. I'm just an uncultured pleb. But I still have an impulse for these things. I have spent consecutive hours of my life poring over some petty nonsense because this YouTuber said something about that YouTuber. And I always feel great after those binge sessions. Very productive use of my fleeting time on this mortal coil. Plus, if this current crop of celebrities and paparazzi just vanished by tomorrow, I think we as a society are just going to find a new set of people to elevate and then exploit. I think it's just how we're wired. So, let's take a look at TMZ. TMZ was founded by lawyer, journalist, and waste of primordial soup, Harvey Levin. Doing a great job for the reputations of lawyers everywhere, bud. American Online, or Time Warner, had wanted to get in on this whole entertainment news thing for the internet, and they approached Levin, who was already sort of a public figure. He worked in journalism and was best known at the time for being an on-air legal analyst for the People's Court. TMZ, standing for the 30-mile zone because that's the area of LA where a lot of the entertainment studios were based at, started as a website in 2005 and would eventually branch out and expand to live chat programs, podcasts, and perhaps most famously, a television show. A show so vapid and widely derided that it became the subject of so many internet parodies, and rightly so.
Our crack team of journalists uncover the most important news.
Kim Kardashian, shoes 2 weeks old.
Now, before we move on, I just want us to really appreciate some of the key differences between this entertainment magazine, which some people used to read apparently, and entertainment news as reported via the internet on the TMZ website. First difference is immediacy. Instead of waiting one whole day for a magazine to print out, now getting your story out there is just as easy as clicking publish. You could put out a story minutes after it breaks, and because you were the first to break the story, people will first hear the story from you. A second difference is breadth. In a magazine, you only have so many pages. You only have 56 pages. That's less than 57. Whereas a website can have what feels like an infinite number of web pages, and those pages can be about whatever. You don't need to have a lifestyle section, who cares? The third difference is the longevity of these stories. Like any blog, TMZ specifically kept an archive of pages reflecting past articles from different dates. So a celebrity's embarrassing gaffe or awkward photo from a week ago, a month ago, a year ago is always just going to be one click away. It will always be remembered because the internet never forgets. This is an old Mad magazine, by the way. I don't have any entertainment magazines around lying in the house. This was the kind of environment that TMZ had fostered, one where every story was a major news event forever and reported with the urgency of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Harvey Levin's ethos driving all this was that a different set of rules must be applied to celebrities. This was informed by his own background, where his dad's liquor store was subject to sting operations and police raids for selling alcohol to minors, but the Hollywood bars that served celebrities doing the same thing were left untouched. In his mind, he was exposing the double standard by which Hollywood treats celebrities and giving them too much leeway. It was unfair. They deserved to be taken down a peg. In fact, one of the first stories that broke them through was a video of Paris Hilton's vehicle hitting a parked truck, speeding off, and then a passenger having allegedly said that he was the only sober individual in the car. And Paris Hilton got away with it! Not even any evidence of a field sobriety test. The double standard! Never mind that the paparazzi were already swarming the car, which may have caused the collision, but it's the double standard, I tell ya. These next two stories, I also remember being very, very big news at the time. I wasn't really paying attention, but somehow I remember them vividly. In 2006, multi-Oscar winner and Hollywood A-lister Mel Gibson was stopped and arrested for driving under the influence. The spokesperson from the sheriff's office initially said to the public and the media that Gibson had been arrested without incident and without special treatment. But according to the arresting deputy's notes obtained by TMZ, not only did Gibson aggressively resist arrest, but also went on an insane anti-Semitic rant.
Anti-Semitic remarks.
The Jews are responsible for all the wars, asking the deputy, was he Jewish?
In fact, it was even speculated that this was all an attempted cover-up, possibly because of Mel Gibson's contributions to the LA Sheriff's Charitable Foundation some years before. And only 4 months after that DUI, Michael Richards of Seinfeld fame would go on a really racist tirade, repeatedly shouting the N-word at some heckling audience members. And the story is wild. Someone from TMZ got a call from his college friend who had a sister, and her boyfriend's friend happened to be at the comedy club and record everything that happened on a digital camera. So that's how we got this.
Oh my god.
This basically ruined Michael Richards' career, and it led to one of the most awkward talk show moments of the 2000s, where days after the video got leaked, Richards would give this like solemn, very serious proto-YouTuber apology on David Letterman's comedy talk show, and it was, oh boy.
A lot of trash talk, and
Stop laughing. It's not funny.
Nowadays, you might think of the phrase cancel culture as something that's very new, very 2010s, but at the time, in 2006, I remember reading about and watching people having difficult conversations about what to do about celebrities who endorse bigoted views or say racially insensitive things.
Well, he hasn't. And I hope that there are consequences. There need to be consequences in this country for bigotry.
To clarify, celebrities have gotten criticized for racist behavior or projects for like a century, but this was all just amplified in the age of the internet. And to think that it was due to TMZ's actions and coverage that led to these discussions. So maybe TMZ good, actually. You ever think about that? Huh? As much as I don't want this to be the case, TMZ is still technically a news organization, so we need to talk about the fraught and controversial practice of journalists paying informants for stories, pictures, videos, and other media. As far as I was able to check, it's under a weird gray area. Journalists, comms, and media people, just help me out in the comments. Is this something that's like theoretically or allowed or practiced? I'm not sure. Please let me know. Well, regardless, this is a lot of how TMZ gets their exclusive, earth-shattering stories. To this day, if you go onto their website, you'll find a Got a Tip button on the top where people with information can get in touch with someone from TMZ to rat out someone for for instance, let's talk about sex. When you think about sex tapes in the early 2000s, the most infamous is of course Paris Hilton, and that tape leaked in 2003 when she was 19 and her partner was 32. Now this didn't involve TMZ yet, which was not yet formed at the time, but this does involve someone who will be very important later on, so pay attention. The tape was leaked by her partner, the one in the tape, Rick Solomon, without her consent and distributed through celebrity sex tape broker and human ball of slime Kevin Blatt. A lot of people never really saw Paris as a victim in all this because despite being heavily traumatized by the incident, she came out the other side and showed a willingness and business savvy to make that tape into a stepping stone for her career. Now, I'm not saying you have to like or admire or comment or subscribe or give 5 stars to Paris Hilton. I'm not really a fan myself. But she maneuvered that situation as best as she possibly could for her career. And even then, she still got ridiculed for it endlessly by the media. However, do you know someone who wasn't in a position to change their narrative like that?
Hiya, Vern.
Good, how are you guys?
It's good to see you again, man.
You too.
Vern Troyer, best known for playing Mini-Me in the Austin Powers movies, had a partner named Renee Schreider, and she would leak the sex tape of the two of them to human ball of slime Kevin Blatt. Now this was in 2008, and that was published on the TMZ website. Well, portions of it. But of course the whole thing ended up being leaked, and of course, people ate it up because the sight of this well-known guy with dwarfism going down on a grown woman is just so funny. Oh, let's all laugh and point and laugh at the circus show freak.
First 10 minutes of the video, he's going down on her and it looks like a baby trying to re-enter the womb.
Ball of slime. Also, Renee Schreider, just like Rick Solomon, is the villain of this story, but both of them were enabled by a system that incentivized this kind of scummy behavior. It's infuriating, honestly. The definitive expose of TMZ is this 2016 New Yorker article by Nicholas Schmidle, and it is revelatory. Apparently, there is at least one mole in a limousine service with a connection to TMZ that's provided them with lists of customers, planned routes, license plate numbers, and at least one employee from Delta Airlines supplying TMZ with names, itineraries, flight numbers, seat numbers, and all of that stuff. And in this podcast episode of The Town, apparently there was at least one person who worked at TMZ who knew the cops and public information officers and actively nurtured these relationships so that they would not stop receiving news and tips and information, with these institutions being none the wiser as to who was leaking any of this info. For instance, when Rihanna was physically assaulted by Chris Brown in 2009, the photo of her battered and wounded face was taken by Officer Rebecca Reyes. Although we're still unsure who was the one who had leaked the photo to TMZ, it's likely not Officer Reyes, but someone had, and that essentially took Rihanna's power away to tell her own story before she was ready.
I just felt like, oh my God, here goes my little bit of privacy. Just exposed, like it's something that nobody wants anybody to know.
And in another story, elevator CCTV footage with Jay-Z, Beyonce, and her sister Solange was leaked by a staff at the hotel this took place in, to the tune of allegedly thousands of dollars. What could have been a private domestic squabble was suddenly a matter of national concern. Because apparently, once you reach a certain level of fame, you've forfeited your basic human right to privacy. To be a famous person in the 21st century is to live in this George Orwellian Big Brother type nightmare. It's a horrifying panopticon. It's a prison of the mind. I'm running out of things to say that make me sound smart, so I'm just gonna move on. But the worst of all is how TMZ deals with the subject of celebrity obituaries. See, on online news sites, the biggest draws usually involve famous people who kick the bucket. It shocks people, it encapsulates a person's legacy in one headline, and you have to be the first to break this news so that majority of people learn about the story through you. And breaking the story first was what TMZ did when King of Pop Michael Jackson passed away in 2009. They were the first to report that Jackson had actually suffered a cardiac arrest before any TV station had picked up on it. And somehow the first to report that he had passed minutes after it happened and before any official news sources could confirm it. For over an hour, they were the only news source that claimed that he had lost his life.
To confirm or deny what the website from TMZ Decline is saying, their report that Michael Jackson has died. They're the only media outlet at the moment that we can find that's going that far. Everyone else is being rather more cautious. We're not really hearing much else from the official source.
And this Michael Jackson story gave TMZ some of the most clicks and traffic in their entire history. In fact, in the Town podcast again, a former TMZ employee detailed a process where, in order to confirm a certain celebrity obituary in 2016, where a celebrity had passed before the representatives were ready to come out with a public statement, someone from TMZ would call the friends of said celebrity who would be in the know and be like, "Hey man, we just got the news over here. How have you been holding up? I know things have been tough for you." And if they would respond with, "Yeah, it's really been tough, man. You know how it is. That was all the confirmation they needed, and the news could then be published onto the site. But perhaps the moment that got TMZ in a lot of hot water was Kobe Bryant's fatal helicopter crash in 2020. Because of TMZ's close connections with those on the inside, possibly folks from inside the courthouse or the coroner's office, the families of the 7 remaining passengers may have found out that their loved ones had perished through TMZ, not through the police, but through some scummy gossip celebrity site.
It'd be extremely disrespectful to understand that your loved one was perished and you learn about it from TMZ. That is just wholly inappropriate.
Now, I suspect that one of the challenges of TMZ was that celebrity news and gossip was primarily perceived as something that appeals more to women. But most internet users from 2005 to 2010 were just men. And I think TMZ was able to smartly reconcile this by just being horribly sexist. Yeah, if you ever seen even a few minutes of their extremely brain-rotting TV show in the early years, you'd know that they'd consider something as shocking as, oh my god, woman exists with big boobs, as something newsworthy apparently.
And she walks out the door, and from the moment she walks out, you're looking at nothing other than her gigantic boobs.
That checks out.
And you know what comes with pregnancy? Mom boobs.
My pajamas.
Mom boobs on Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, just take a look at how they covered this clip of Lindsay Lohan walking into a building.
Fine, roll it.
Thank you, boo-boo. You're looking marvelous, I tell you.
OMG. It's true.
They are bouncing.
It's a bounce off.
It is a bounce off. Boingy, 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 boingy. And now the challenger. Bingy, 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 bingy. Boingy, bingy, boingy, bingy.
And this kind of dehumanization of women carried over to the internal workings of TMZ and how they treat their employees. One of the co-founders of TMZ was a woman by the name of Gillian Sheldon, who felt that TMZ was becoming more of a boys' club. She left the company after getting tired of being sidelined by Harvey Levin, and she would describe how a working day could consist of watching sex tapes and regularly objectifying and laughing at women celebrities. And ever since then, there's hardly ever been any women in senior roles, according to staff. And just to point out that Harvey Levin just seems like the worst as a boss. See, on TV, Levin would try and project this image of this amiable, cool old guy, but apparently behind the scenes, he, along with other male TMZ executives, allegedly regularly screamed and cursed at his employees, calling them really awful names, with 6 other former employees saying they had made HR complaints, while others avoided doing so for fear of retaliation. By all accounts, in my opinion, he just seems a bit like a slave driver.
It's work, 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 business, 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 business. So he's not trying to hear that shit from you. He's not trying to hear any excuses as to why you can't deliver, why you can't create. You don't want to work on the weekend, tough, whatever. You don't want to do this, tough, whatever. You can't outwork him, so he doesn't listen to any excuses, and it's just not for everybody.
I mean, what more would you expect from a guy who doesn't see celebrities as humans, to see his own staff as humans? Anyway, going back to how TMZ reported on women, the website would not really fare any better. Here's a charming post comparing a 16-year-old Olympic gymnast Shawn Johnson, not a big celebrity or entertainer, to a rat. Picking on a teenage girl for her looks. Wow, guys, I love it. That's some great content. Definitely exposing the double standards of Hollywood. By the way, when some people got mad, TMZ basically doubled down and published all their mean comments onto the website because, let's just move on. Here is a delightfully tasteful and lovely slideshow of women accidentally baring their nipples. As if it weren't enough that the world has been forced to know which stars don't wear underpants. I'm trying to be like the annoying TMZ narrator. And most concerningly, here's a page with Kendall Jenner with a simple headline, 53 days. 53 days until what? 53 days until she would turn 18. That's gross as hell, but maybe they thought they were doing a public service announcement. For someone like Cody Co. Oh, topical! I told you I am way too into YouTube drama. But of course, if we're talking about the really scummy TMZ coverage of women, it always boils down to the former child stars, the ones branded as train wrecks, possibly in part because they were already exploited by the industry that simultaneously infantilized and sexualized them before they had even turned 18. Like, it's no secret that people like Amanda Bynes and Lindsay Lohan were mainstays of the website who got disproportionately way too much airtime. You may have seen the infamous shots of Amanda being harassed by paparazzi and rightfully retaliating.
Hold on. Right here. No, come towards me. No, just walk towards me. Can I just get a shot of you walking towards me?
You have to delete that one in my face. I need to look beautiful.
All right, I'm done. Ow!
And then being painted as the unhinged aggressor. Ooh. Ugh. But perhaps the one woman that people really remember as the victim of paparazzi was Britney Spears. In 2007, following the passing of her beloved aunt, a split from her husband Kevin Federline, and a messy custody battle for her 2 kids, Spears started exhibiting erratic behavior, potentially indicative of a mental breakdown. Absolutely not helped by swarms of paparazzi constantly harassing her and following her every move to feed into a culture that was just shamelessly being weird and fixated on this random 25-year-old girl. In the podcast Behind the Blinds, it was suggested that because Britney felt so alone during this time, she somehow viewed these paparazzi as friends. She knew some of them by a first-name basis, they helped pump her gas and give directions, and while the paparazzi just saw her as a means to their next paycheck, photos of Britney during that time period could go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But obviously, that relationship was also clearly very antagonistic as well. You may have seen that photo of a fed-up Britney days after she had shaved her head, standing up for herself against the paparazzo using an umbrella. And there's a video of that moment on TMZ because, of course, there is. In that same podcast, this is the part that really stood out to me, though.
And I remember one day she was doing one of her like random drives around all LA, and it would kind of, all the paparazzi would then start to pick up because once you know where Britney is and people are calling each other, this is where we're at now. She had 100 cars following her. At a point, there was a news helicopter circling her, filming, and local news was covering it as if it was a car chase. But it was just Britney driving through LA. And she passed right by our building. No joke, it was 100 cars went through a red light just because no one was going to stop and lose her. It was wild.
Holy shit.
Even thinking about the situation, I get chills, imagining if what had happened to Princess Diana could have also happened to Britney Spears. It's awful, and it was TMZ leading the charge, the ones feeding the most into our obsession with this crazy, out-of-control Britney. It sucks. I'm so angry. Just move to the next section. I'm just tired. So why has TMZ declined in relevance throughout the years? Well, there are several factors. One is the proliferation of smartphones, and now everyone's walking around with a camera in their pocket at all times, ready to whip it out if the need arises. And if a smartphone user wanted to share that photo with others, they can do so through social media. If you have some hot, juicy media or goss, you can upload that photo onto Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Des Moines, or whatever, and gain social capital, which could potentially maybe translate into a monetary benefit as well. You don't need TMZ to act as the middleman anymore. The next point also relates to social media. With each celebrity having their own social media pages, they now have the power to basically update their fans with whatever they're doing at any given moment, and to shape their own stories and their own public lives. And this is pretty fantastic from a consumer perspective too. I mean, if you love, let's say, Selena Gomez, or you hate Selena Gomez, or for whatever reason obsessed with her, you could just go onto her Snap Talk Livestagram reel and get to interact with her there directly. which is way more satisfying than just knowing where she went out partying the night before. I think there's also something to be said about mental health awareness and realizing that celebrities are actually human beings too, who may, in fact, also suffer from mental illness, and that shouldn't be mocked. Also, I suspect that as the 2010s drew on, more women were going onto the internet, and I think this caused a gradual shift in empathy online and culturally toward women celebrities, especially those who were going through things. So with all of those factors, TMZ, just like Anakin Skywalker in Star Trek: The Age of Ultron, TMZ became the very thing they swore to destroy.
So they donated $200,000 to two separate firefighter organizations, and they donated $100,000 to a firefighter who lost his home while he was fighting the fires.
That's really nice.
Yeah, the Kardashians supposedly have a quote-unquote direct line to TMZ where they can maybe, potentially, I would speculate, in my opinion, please don't sue me, allegedly, I'd speculate that the Kardashians and their reps would maybe pay TMZ for certain positive news coverage and staged paparazzi photos. Maybe. Or at least because TMZ reaches out to celebrities for comment before certain stories are published, the Kardashians or whoever could work these relationships with TMZ to spin stories in their favor, like a deal with the devil kind of thing. TMZ lately has also had celebrities drop by their live shows and just be overall chummy and cozy and cordial with photographers. TMZ would get invited to red carpet events, which was just something they never did initially because they started off more anti-establishment. Clearly, a more symbiotic and mutually beneficial relationship was developing between TMZ and the celebrity. Speaking of celebrities... Okay, this is big news. I just have to pause the video to let you know that on TMZ right now, I found out that Kathy Hilton got in the way of a model on the catwalk. Oh my god. Who is Kathy Hilton? And what is Rohoboho? Am I just the most uncultured pleb? Okay, so I'm learning that Kathy Hilton is a fashion designer. Oh, she's Paris Hilton's mom. Okay, that makes sense. I know who that is. Actually, one interesting thing I find about modern TMZ is how all over the place it is. For instance, in 2007, looking at this hot celeb section of TMZ, it's almost entirely actors and musicians. But in 2024, the people they cover is a mix of reality show stars, politicians, athletes, comedians, producers, online influencers, even people who had one viral moment on social media. And I think it just shows how decentralized the concept of celebrity is nowadays. For me, as a chronically online millennial who is way too immature for my age, who I see as the biggest celebrities nowadays are Mr. Beast, Penguinzo, that guy with the crypto scam, Charlie D'Amelio, and Addison Zachary Ray Bellarian Paul. Now, you might have sat through this entire video and heard stories of leaks and corruption and a system that incentivizes bad behavior and sexism, and you might have just thought, well, that's sad, but that's just the concern of big celebrities. Why would I feel sorry for the poor celebrity millionaires? I'm just a random person. I'm just me. Why would anyone have any interest in little old me? Well, what if I told you that in the year of our Lord 2024, you could become a celebrity?
You gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing, you get me?
I am convinced that we are all one viral video away from overnight fame. Even if you don't have a social media presence, it just takes one person around you with a camera and an internet connection to make you go viral. And God help your soul if you are caught on a bad day where you were at your worst behavior. Someone in the 1960s once said that everyone would get their 15 minutes of fame. But in the age of TikTok, that almost seems like an inevitability. And the second that you skyrocket in popularity for whatever reason, society will deem you unworthy or undeserving of your right to privacy. If there's anything that TMZ has proven through the years, it's that the systems and authority structures in place designed to protect your dignity simply do not work. And people meant to help, people who you trust, will sell you out if the price is right. I want to circle back to that quote I said earlier in the video about how every single paparazzi is like a morally bankrupt individual who don't care about others. Is it true? Well, in the Behind the Blinds podcast, one former TMZ employee says that they had actually obtained a teaching certification but still could not find a job in 2009 and was offered a job by TMZ, and he says he took it because he needed health insurance. And that's really the crux of it, isn't it? It's money. We do what we have to do to survive, but I still don't think that makes it okay. I don't know what to do about this. I'm just an uncultured pleb. But what I will do is stream Paparazzi, Lady Gaga outsold all your faves, the Fame and the Fame Monster, Carrie... If you're still here, I appreciate that you watched all the way through. This was a really heavy topic and it kind of made me sad in like researching this. But if you want something a bit lighter from me, you could watch my video on pop song parodies on YouTube. If you actually are a returning viewer and you've seen my other videos, wow, thank you so much. And if you want to see more videos about this weird intersection between the internet and pop culture, I'm gonna make so much more of these. This has been so fun so far. And I'm really appreciative, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.